So you're coming down this weekend, right?
I'm coming down the 23rd, like really late.
Mm-hmm.
And then leaving Tuesday.
You know what that means? MGM on Monday. Actually, MGM would be a shit show on Monday. Howdy, everyone. This is Sunday, December 18th, 2016, and this is episode 31 of Due for a Win, the Atlantic City and Casino Biz podcast. I'm Kyle Askin, and joined, as always, by Craig Stone. What's going on, Craig?
I'm ready to talk about a trip report without you, which is rare.
It's not that rare.
Yeah, I guess it's not that. Probably once a year I go on a...
Yeah, you and Andrea go like once a year, probably.
Yeah.
Megan and I also used to go once or twice a year, but then we had a kid, so... We haven't in a couple of years.
Makes it tough.
Actually, that's not true. We did go last year right before our son was born.
When Megan was 9 months pregnant, you took her to the casinos.
Yeah, she was actually like 8.5 months pregnant when we went to Borgata, and she got a massage, a prenatal massage. And they're like, the pregnant women usually aren't quite this pregnant during this, but...
Awesome.
They did it anyway.
Sounds good.
It was good.
Something to keep in mind for all the pregnant ladies out there.
They will accept people up to the point of bursting.
Interesting. That's probably not the main topic of this episode of the podcast that we're going to go with.
It could be. All right. Anyway, let's blow through all this news, and we'll get to your trip report, which I think will be the brunt of this episode. So, do you want to talk about the state of New Jersey and the CRDA?
Yeah, so... The latest news that came out today in a Nicholas Huba article in the Press of Atlantic City is that the state of New Jersey essentially seems to be defunding the CRDA, which is the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority. Also, which now we've known about this for a couple of days, but Director John Palmieri is stepping down. Apparently it's a mutual decision. The funny thing is AC Primetime tweeted this a couple weeks ago, just like shake up at CRDA ? And the CRDA Twitter account kind of played dumb and was like, what do you mean? And then 2 days later, the director stepped down, and now we've got this funding issue. So I guess give AC Primetime some credit for that scoop. So the CRDA was getting 1.25%, a 1.25% tax on gross gaming revenue and 2.5% on internet gaming. And apparently the state has decided that money's now all going to go to pay off the city's $500 million debt. The CRDA will also now have a new executive director. Chris Howard, who was the deputy director, is going to step in at the start of 2017. And the sort of crux of this appears to be that Governor Chris Christie sees a new mission for the CRDA and sees a chance to get a bunch of money into the city, which I'm sure Mayor Don Guardian would have loved to have, when he was still running things and the state was not running the show. But we don't really know sort of what the mission for the CRDA is going to be going forward. I don't know. Do you have any sort of hopes for what you would like the CRDA to do, even though they have no money? Like, what could they even do?
I think that some of this news is pretty interesting, and as you said, this just came out today, so there hasn't been a whole lot written on it. I haven't seen too much about it other than in the Press of Atlantic City at this point. I assume that tomorrow there's going to be a lot more stories on this coming out. But basically what's happened from what I can understand from the story is that the old director has stepped down, and the old director, it seems, had reasonably bona fide development chops and credentials and was pretty well respected in terms of real estate development. And the new guy that's coming in is someone who, at least the South New Jersey sort of people who are more on the side of Atlantic City than on the side of Chris Christie seem to think is just a Christie hack who is not qualified to run the CRDA, or at least in its current form. But I'm not really sure what the CRDA is going to become. I think that it's probably a good idea right now to take the money that is going to the CRDA and try to pay off some of the city's debt. I think that's totally reasonable. But, their old purpose of just making Atlantic City like a better place to be and doing things like marketing and development was fine. I mean, I think the problem was that, at least in my eyes, or in probably a lot of people's eyes, it's totally failed at it for at least the last 10 years when I've been going there.
So I think the idea, like you said, was good, but they've been under a lot of scrutiny for some of the things that they've either done or haven't done. They've bought a bunch of land and haven't paid taxes on that land in Atlantic City or developed anything on it. They've used some money for things in Camden and elsewhere in the state, whereas I'm sure the city itself says, like, hey, this money was supposed to go to us. So there is some issues there. Obviously, we talked just last episode about sort of failing to get the New Year's Rockin' Eve concert set up and going through. There have been some other issues with the concert agreement, although they have done a lot of concerts. So that, I think most people would probably say that's been mostly successful, their deal with Live Nation. But yeah, I mean, I think defunding seems extreme, although we're certainly in extreme times, so I can't really fault them for making that decision. But I'm interested to see, is somebody going to pick up the ball on things like beach concerts and other things? It's not like they never did anything that brought people to Atlantic City. There are just certainly things that they did that you could scrutinize and say, like, well, that wasn't the best use of money. So I don't really know. I don't know.
Just to cut in, I'm with you 100% that it is, like, no matter how bad times get, I think spending some money on things like marketing, whether it be something like a marketing campaign, which is what Do AC was, or on holding beach concerts, or trying to put together New Year's Eve shows, or whatever, like, it is a good thing, and it is something that the city or state probably should be spending some money on, in my opinion. But like I said before, the problem is that I don't really have a whole lot of faith that most of the stuff CRDA was doing really has ever worked out. So, I don't know. If it's something that was done well in the past, I'd say this is a bummer that it's getting defunded. But the fact that, they've just spent a bunch of money, bought a bunch of real estate, done nothing with it, even said while they were trying to eminent domain all this stuff, they actually have no plans for it going forward. They don't know what they're going to use it for, other than generic development in the future. I don't know. They didn't inspire a lot of confidence. Do AC was a complete bust. That's a CRDA thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and that was the point that I was going to make is, the marketing as a concept is a great idea. Like, they should be marketing the city. It's just that they didn't do it particularly well. So that's kind of the problem. And I don't know where it goes from here. I think it's hard to guess, right? Because without money, who knows what their sort of plan is going to be? Are they going to just be sort of a, review board or something where they're still doing the sort of admin crap that Glenn Straub complained so much about? I mean, I would guess that's probably mostly what they're limited to at this point. But I guess we'll find out as time goes on.
Yep.
So speaking of state money getting spent here in Atlantic City, the guy heading up the state takeover is Jeff Chiesa. I did look up how to pronounce it. He is apparently getting $400 per hour, which has spawned or sparked a lot of outrage. What do you think about $400 an hour for this guy who's taking over Atlantic City on behalf of the state?
I mean, I don't have really that many strong feelings about it either way. I mean, it is a large sum of money, no doubt about it, but, this guy is what? He's a lawyer and a partner at a law firm, right? And, I mean, I think in general that these kind of services aren't something that's cheap, so, I mean, do I wish they could hire someone for cheaper to do this? Like, yeah, I do, but I don't know. I'm not especially outraged about it.
Yeah, I don't really know what people sort of in this position make, partners at law firms or whatever. Obviously, this is a pretty unique position for anyone to be in as sort of a government employee, but $400 does sound really high. If it was $250, I probably wouldn't have even batted an eye. So I don't know if that's like, sort of I don't know why I sort of set that number. But one of the interesting things I saw was an article actually from New Jersey 101.5, a radio station. Dan Alexander wrote saying that he's earning 8 times what Mayor Don Guardian earns. So it extrapolated this out over a year's salary, what $400 an hour would be over a year's salary, saying, the mayor makes something, I think, like $103,000, and this Jeff Chiesa is going to make $800-something $1,000 a year. Did I just say an hour for the mayor? A year. But it's... I don't think that math really works, right? Because they're getting paid on. I mean, if it's lawyer style, they're getting paid on sort of billable hours.
Yeah. I mean, I think, does the math work if you're assuming he's working 40-hour weeks? Like, yeah, it's going to be $800,000 a year, right? Because if you just do kind of back of the envelope, you assume that a work year is 5,000 hours times 400, it's $800K. But yeah,
2,000
I'm
2,000
sure.
hours.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. 2,000 hours times
100-hour work weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
For 50 weeks. That's what we did. But yeah, I'm not sure if he will be working 40-hour weeks because, as you said, it's probably going to be billable hours. He might have other stuff going on. But just to say something in general, I mean, I think that one of the reasons or something that traditionally happens if you do have a government job and if you kind of look and see what the government's hiring for many positions kind of like this, like high-level executive positions in the government, they tend to be filled by people who like really want to do that. And as a trade-off for doing this, like you tend to get paid a lot less than you could in private enterprise if you are doing it. So like I said before, do I wish they could find someone who could do this and who is equally qualified to do this for less money? Like I do. And I think a lot of the outrage is that this is another Chris Christie ally, George Norcross ally, whatever. So, I think that's why a lot of the outrage is there. But, given the circumstances, I understand that's might be a hard thing to do.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of the outrage comes from, is he's been sort of the default Chris Christie appointee, almost, it seems like. I mean, he was Attorney General, then he got appointed as a senator, and now he's getting appointed to run Atlantic City. But the math, I mean, I think we had a similar stance on Kevin Lavin, who was the emergency manager, who produced a whole report that I don't think anything actually came of. Although I guess they're saying now that they're using that as a framework or as a guide. He was getting paid some similarly high sum, and there was a lot of outrage, and it's just kind of like, contractors in these situations get paid a lot. Like, that's just kind of the way it goes. So not too much outrage on our side. I'm sorry we couldn't dial up the meter for you all a little bit, but at the end of the day, I mean, for us as tourists, this doesn't really affect us a lot. And I feel like we say that about a lot of the state news, but even for, I think, people in the city, yes, you can say, oh, you could shave $200 an hour off of that, and all that money could go toward the debt or whatever. But it tends to not be how these things work.
Yeah, I agree.
So you want to move on to casino talk?
Sure.
We have one sort of news item about casinos.
One news item that we had a discussion before the show. Have we talked about this or not? I think we have, but we can talk about it again really briefly. And if we haven't, it'll be news to all of you. So Fornaletto is closing at Borgata, and it sounds like they have announced a date. And it sounds like it's going to be closing on April 1st. And this is basically because there's a new Michael Simon, kind of a famous Food Network personality. There's going to be a new Michael Simon restaurant opening up in the spring of 2017. So it's going to be opening in the spot where Fornaletto is. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because you really like Fornaletto, right?
Yeah, I went once. So I don't think it's actually in the spot where Fornaletto is. It's over by the High Limit Room, I think. We talked about this in episode 6, if you want to go way, way back and listen to almost a year-old episodes at this point. But the Michael Simon place is called Angeline. I haven't seen a set date. I know spring 17, I'll link to an article that's about a year old from NJ.com saying that how this is spelling doom for Fornaletto. And I think we did speculate in the episode that we talked about in episode 6, kind of saying like, Fornaletto, this is probably not good for them to have another Italian place. But now it seems like that's definitely done. Someone on TripAdvisor said that they were eating there, and I'm guessing an employee of some sort told them that the closing date is April 1st. I think Mike mentioned it in our Facebook group as well, that Fornaletto is closing. So they haven't, made any big announcements about it. I'm assuming they will not make any big deal. I'm sure all the focus from Borgata's side will be about the new Michael Simon restaurant. But if you liked Fornaletto, it was a cool space. It was the one that was sort of down in the basement where it was set up to look very much like a wine cellar. So that will probably be gone on April 1st. So you've got maybe 3 months left to get in one last trip to Fornaletto if you liked it.
Cool.
You never
this
went.
Episode, the theme of this episode is just you correcting me about everything I say. But that's fine. We both can't be right all the time, so.
As long as we're not both wrong all the time.
Yeah, as long as someone knows what's going on.
Yeah. So I actually went to Fornaletto just last weekend, very briefly, just to get a cocktail. So I don't know if that's a good segue into my trip report, but should I just dive right in?
Yeah, go for it, man.
So we went last weekend for just a one-night trip. I talked a little bit about sort of the why and how last episode, but basically we typically try to go for our anniversary. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know that last year that got canceled because my dog got sick, and we ended up going in July, which our anniversary is in January, so that's quite a delay. This year we couldn't go because my wife had a family obligation that weekend, and so we ended up sort of pushing it forward this time instead of back. And the reason for that was that I got a My Vegas reward for free tickets to the Human Nature Christmas or Holiday Motown show at the Borgata. It was like 35,000 loyalty points, which is ridiculously cheap. If you're a My Vegas player, I mean, you can earn that many loyalty points in just a few weeks if you've never played the game before. So we were able to secure babysitting, and we headed down. I think last episode I said that we had reservations at Harrah's. I actually ended up canceling those reservations and booking at Bally's just because it was something like $65 cheaper, and I figured that was worth it. So we went to Bally's. Just a quick rundown of the room. I went, tried the $20 sandwich because Kyle had some success at resorts, and I figured I'd give it a shot. We were booked in a Dennis Tower luxury king room, and so I got out the $20 bill, put it between my credit card and my ID, and asked if they had any Jubilee rooms available, which is the very upgraded, very recently updated rooms in the Bally's Tower. So she took my $20 and looked in the computer for a little bit and thought she had found something, and then said, "Oh no, I think that this is actually reserved for someone else. Let me check." And brought someone over to confirm. And the person was like, "Yeah, it's saying it's on hold for this other person who's not here yet." And so then she went into a back room and was like, "I'll be right back. I'm going to call and see if this person's actually coming." And at this point, I'm thinking, she should have just given the $20 back and said, "Nah, man, sorry. You get the room that you get."
She wanted that $20, man.
She wanted that $20. So, and got other people involved, and nobody at any point was like, "Why does this?
Why
dude,
are you doing this?"
Yeah, why does this dude get a room? So I think
they know.
Yeah, they know what the deal is. So I think the $20 sandwich in Atlantic City is definitely a value.
You don't need to be quite subtle enough that you don't need to make it the sandwich.
Probably not. You
just hand it over the counter.
Just slap it on the table and be like, "I got you this. What do you got for me?" So they ended up not being able to get that room, but able to get a 2 double beds room, which my wife and I sort of deliberated for a couple minutes about whether that was okay or if we wanted the king. And we figured, one night, let's see the nice newly updated room.
Sweet, you got it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I pressured my wife into getting
I mean, that's a pretty big get
beds.
because even in like the winter, like I don't get Jubilee rooms comped, at least not on the website.
Oh no, I never get Jubilee rooms comped, so I was surprised that we got it. So that was cool. One night stay, definitely the first thing she asked was like, it's just the one night stay? And I was like, yeah, and then she really sort of went out her way. And we checked in late, which helped, I think, because we didn't get there, noon and try to check in and get a room. We checked in at like 5. So went up to the room. It was very, very nice. It's not a huge room, but the update they did is really good. The hallways are totally redone. The room looks very nice. It's very like white and red. If you've seen the pictures on the Total Rewards site when you go to book a room, it looks pretty much like that. The view out of the room was fantastic, unlike the Tropicana Havana Tower room that we were in where the window was 5 feet off the ground.
Oh, right. And your wife couldn't see out of it.
Yeah. So this was floor to ceiling, amazing view. So it was really nice. The bathroom, I don't think had really been updated much. I mean, maybe they had done a little bit of tile stuff, but not super nice. Certainly, the little toilet room and the toilet seemed kind of old. But it was a nice room. My one complaint, as I have about every hotel room, it seems, was the shower. And it was... So I think I said the Havana Tower shower pressure was pretty weak. This was absurdly weak. Like, I think it felt like it was barely even getting to the bottom of the shower. Like, it might just evaporate before it even hit the drain. And you could... stand, like the back of the tub wouldn't even get wet because the shower was just like this drip practically. And I tried everything and nothing really worked. And it was pretty late by the time we got into the room. Like my wife wanted to shower and get ready and we had the show tickets, so we didn't call down and complain. They probably would have, I don't know, switched us to a different room, switched us to the Dennis Tower room that we should have gotten to begin with. But we figured for one night it wasn't really worth it. I did shower in the morning. It was a little bit of a pain, but not like a deal breaker. I wouldn't say like, oh, I'll never stay there again. Like it was totally not a deal breaker. But so
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
So with the white and the red, did it remind you of the Flamingo?
Of the Go rooms?
Yes.
There was a little bit of that feel, I think,
because when I see
white.
those pictures, that is what it reminds me of. And it kind of gives me a little bit of PTSD because it's the Flamingo.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely nicer than those rooms, though, in the Flamingo. Like, the little details are nicer. It's not as worn, which is part of it. It's very newly done.
Like the floors and the furniture, they are awful in Flamingo.
Yeah, it's definitely better than that. And the furniture was nice. Like, all the little updates as far as, like, the new entertainment center and everything looked good. So definitely nicer than that Go mini suite or whatever that we were in Vegas a few years ago. So, yeah, I mean, just the color palette did remind me a little of it, but not too much. I did go down to the casino floor at one point, and the elevator made a very hard stop about 3 floors below where I got on, and didn't actually stop at the floor. It was just like, just kidding. Now we're actually going. So I did think for a split second that I might die. Fortunately, I'm here, and I did not die in the Bally's elevator. So just general thoughts on Bally's. I thought Bally's Tower, the Jubilee, I guess the whole floor is probably Jubilee rooms. The ceilings are a little low in the hall, which feels kind of weird, like it feels old. But, again, I really liked the renovation. I don't love the location of the tower, even though it's right off the casino floor. There's something about sort of that walk to the tower that feels not particularly nice. I mean, it's not as bad as the old walk to the Claridge, but I probably would have preferred location-wise the Dennis Tower, not only because
just walk in off of the like the hallway between Bally's and Wild Wild West.
Right. So this is deep into Bally's, right? It's right off the lobby and the casino floor where some of the video poker machines and like the casino cage are in that corner.
Yep.
Whereas the Dennis Tower, you're sort of right in the walkway where, for me, like, I would prefer to play at Caesars, so, or even Wild Wild West I like, although we didn't spend much time at Wild Wild West.
You could just go straight down to the basement for your room and get a Harry's in the Dennis Tower.
Yeah, exactly. And then hop over to Wild Wild West and play some Danger Arena.
Yes.
Did not play Danger Arena on this trip, so if anybody's wondering if I went back to my nemesis, Danger Arena. I did not. So, any questions about Bally's? I don't love the vibe of the casino floor there, or the sort of, I don't know. There's something about like the location of the tower and like where you come off of the casino floor that makes me not love it. But
that's kind of a weird thing to base a judgment on, though, right? I mean, it's convenient, right? It's right off the casino floor.
I think if they did the elevator entrance better, it would be better, but it says like Bally's Tower and like some cheap light up sign, and there's a security guard there, and he's just standing there like right off the casino floor, and it feels weird. It is convenient. It's not convenient if you want to go to places other than Bally's, but it was fine. I shouldn't. That's my own sort of weird like internal whatever. That's a personal problem.
Your personal feng shui was upset by the entrance to the elevator.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
It makes you feel like you're not going into a nice room, but you're in Bally's, so I don't know why you'd expect that in the first place.
So yeah, what does this mean? This is the, ostensibly the nicest room in Bally's, or at least the nicest room that the likes of me and you can get in Bally's. And it sounds like you certainly weren't blown away by it. So does this just mean that if you can help it, you should stay in Harrah's or Caesars?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would much rather stay in Centurion Tower than the Jubilee rooms, which is funny because it's much easier for me to get the Centurion Tower than Jubilee rooms. I expect if they do upgrade more rooms to Jubilee, I think the Jubilee rooms are going to become more readily available. I think right now there just aren't a ton of them, so that's probably a big part of it. I thought about just asking for Ocean View, and then I was like, I'm going to get stuck in a shitty like Bally's, like whatever they call it, deluxe Bally's Tower room that's like hasn't been
renovated in 25 years.
Right, so I did not ask for that. And if they had said, "Oh, we can just give you Bally's Tower Ocean room," I probably would have said no, just give me the Dennis room. There are some rooms high in the Dennis Tower that have Ocean View, and I might have preferred that, but
I mean,
I haven't seen those rooms.
By high, you mean like the fourth floor? I mean, the Dennis Tower is not very tall, right?
The central tower, I think, is 11 floors. So there's a middle tower in between the two shorter towers. So some of those rooms do have Ocean View.
Okay.
So let's talk food.
Okay.
So the first place we went was Wingcraft, which is someplace I've actually wanted to try for a while. When I tweeted about it, what everyone said to me was, "Where the heck is that?" And it is actually in the Walk outlets over by the Sheraton. So it's all the way at the end of the outlets. We went, it was pretty late for lunch. I think it was about 2 o'clock, and it was really crowded on a Saturday. I'm guessing it's because of the holiday shopping crowd, but good to see that a non-casino restaurant is drawing quite a crowd. We both liked our food quite a bit. We started with the hot and honey wings, which were basically typical buffalo wings with a little bit of a honey taste. I have to say they were way better than the honey molasses wings at the Gordon Ramsay Pub and Grill that we had.
That's not much of a accomplishment, though.
Yeah, I think, that is definitely not saying much. But I thought they were very good wings, and I actually sort of found myself wishing that I had ordered a second order of wings, and then, like, me and my wife would have split an entree, basically. But the entree, she just got a salad. I got the Manhattan Project, which is a burger with barbecue sauce and like fried onions and some other stuff on it. The burger I thought was really, really good. Oh, and it comes with like homemade chips that were also really good. The one thing I'll say about the burger is if you're like a burger snob where you just want like a really good patty of meat or whatever, this probably is not that type of thing. Like it's definitely more about the toppings than the burger itself, but I did think it was a pretty tasty burger. And I would absolutely go again. And the beer list was incredible. Like they had a huge beer list. We did a beer flight. I think the beer flight is kind of the best deal because you can pick any 4 beers for the flight, including things like, Worldwide Stout and stuff that's really expensive if you just buy a 12-ounce of it, and it's always the same price for the flight, so you can sample some pretty good, pretty expensive beers. I mean, obviously a flight, you're sort of overpaying because you're getting small samples, but I thought it was a cool way to try some of their pretty huge beer selection, and I wish it was a little closer to the boardwalk, but I would absolutely go again. And I think it's the type of place that, like, my brother, like you guys, our group of friends would really enjoy for, like, a lunch sometime to get out of the casino floor. So,
especially if we were at the AC Beer Fest, which is right there.
Yeah, that place just must make a killing after AC Beer Fest. It's a bunch of drunk people coming in.
I was super drunk after AC Beer Fest.
Getting even drunker on beer. So then for dinner, we went to Izakaya in Borgata, which is a Japanese, well, they say it's a Japanese pub, a modern Japanese pub. I would not say it was very pub-y. It's very dark. I think the vibe in there, I could see where people would be sort of put off by it. It's like very dark, and one of the walls, like it really high ceilings, and one of the walls was just like stark black with sort of one cutout with some art, like a mural in it. If dark is not your style, then you might not like it. The other thing that people might not like is that it's kind of it's a little bit ooncy in its music selection. But I thought that worked really well with the vibe. And we were originally going to be sat over by the casino floor where you are looking at slot machines, and I said going in, like, if that happens, I'm asking to be sat inside, not off the casino floor, because of the Gordon Ramsay situation where we got sat basically in the hallway across from Emperor's Essentials. So they did oblige and move us in deeper into the place, and it was a much better situation, I think. The service was great, and the food, I thought, I was just completely blown away. So you can do entrees, but the entree menu's fairly small. So we decided to do 5 different small plates and just kind of try a bunch of different stuff. So there's a lot to try. I mean, everything's sort of very interesting. I mean, there is some more basic stuff. Like we did do beef fried rice, which, wasn't really anything to write home about. Kind of fairly standard stuff. But we got these short rib skewers that were just really, really good. Just like a really good meat, really well cooked and well marinated with some kimchi on top. We did a spicy scallop cut sushi roll for sort of like an appetizer almost. That was also really good. Like it had scallops on top of the roll in some sort of like cream sauce that was really good. We did duck scrapple buns at the waiter's recommendation, which we were kind of skeptical of, but they come out in sort of the typical like Asian very soft bun, and it's like this little scrapple patty, but it's duck. And he said, like, it's not like crappy meat. Everybody thinks of scrapple as like, intestines and hooves and stuff. But, it's like good duck meat. It's just made in that style. And they were really good. They were very interesting. The thing that sort of really I was the most shocked by was the mahi mahi tacos, because, it's an Asian place. So these are fried fish tacos with a jalapeno on them. But then they also have some Asian seasoning and I think maybe kimchi. And you bite into it, and it's just like this sort of sequence of flavors that was very interesting. And I'm not a food snob, so for me to talk about things in this sort of language is rare. So that should tell you something about what I thought of it. But
Paul is really proud of you somewhere, though.
Yes, probably. So, I mean, you bite into it, and it's like the first taste is like, oh, this is really familiar. It tastes like a fish taco like you'd get at any taco place, like a good taco place. And then you sort of get a little bit of the spice from the jalapeno, and then all of a sudden the Asian flavors hit you, and you're like, oh, whoa, that's really out there. And so the first bite I had, I was like, I'm not sure what I think about this. Like, do I like this? It's really kind of out there, which is funny because, it's sort of a standard thing. Like, you read it on the menu, and it seems like it's a very standard dish, but then I just sort of like scarfed the rest of the thing down, and both my wife and I were saying, they were really amazing. And just everything we got was really good. And more than anything, just looking at the small plates menu, there were a dozen more things that we would have loved to try if we, had space in our stomachs. So I could definitely see myself going back. I know Mr. AC Casino, Daryl McEwen, said that he thinks that that's sort of the hidden gem at the Borgata, as much as anything can be a hidden gem at Borgata, because you don't really hear it talked about too much, but I highly, highly recommend it. to anyone who's interested in that style of sort of Asian small plates.
So just so we have some frame of reference, how would you compare it to Continental, which is not Asian, but it is still small plates, and it's something that I think you were also very impressed with when we went.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more adventurous, certainly, than Continental. Like, the stuff that I really liked at Continental, I mean, I'm very much like, I like sort of standard flavors, I guess. So the things I really like at Continental are like, you know, things that are American style with just like a little kick to them, whereas this is more like a big kick, if that makes sense. It's a much more sort of powerful set of flavors at least in the stuff we got.
Is that, I mean, the thing that I think we both liked the most, if I remember correctly, when we were there was they had like wasabi mashed potatoes, right? That's kind of out there, right?
Yeah, but the wasabi was very, very subtle in those mashed potatoes. I did not get like a ton of wasabi flavor. And my wife hates wasabi, and we got the wasabi mashed potatoes, and she ate them totally fine. On that promise from me, like, no, it's fine. It's not super. I mean, they were really good, and you could taste it, but it wasn't like overpowering.
So this was more out there.
Yeah, I would definitely say it was more out there. I mean, just things like duck scrapple buns. The one thing I'll say about Continental is I went twice in fairly short succession, and I found myself just sort of wanting most of the same things, or several of the same things that I had ordered a previous time. And I don't know if that's like a testament to the fact that the stuff that we got when you and I went was so good that I wanted to get it again, or if it's a sign that, like, there's a bunch of other stuff on the menu that I'm not so excited about. I mean, there are definitely, like, there's pork stuff that I can't eat, so that kind of puts a damper on it. But definitely, like, the izakaya menu, I was just looking at it, I was like, oh, I want to try that. I want to try that. I want to try all this. So I do want to go again, and I thought that was pretty cool because I feel like I said, I have sort of bland, if you will, tastes in food. My wife kind of makes fun of me for it. So I do tend to go someplace and see, like, you know, a burger and a steak and a chicken dish on the menu, and it's like, well, those are the three things that I'm fine with, and, you know, all this other stuff I am not adventurous enough to try it. But this, I thought there's a bunch of stuff I was interested in.
How to compare price wise? Probably like a little more expensive. That would be my guess anyway. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, Continental, both times I've went, I've just been amazed at how cheap it was. This, even, you know, we got 5 small plates, like I said. And we did a bottle of sparkling wine, and I think it was still only $100-something after tax and tip, like in the low hundreds. I think between 100 and 110, or maybe around 110 after tax and tip. So it was not expensive. Yeah, it was not expensive. Totally reasonable, and the atmosphere makes it feel really nice. As long as you're not just totally put off by the slightly techno-y sort of dancey music, but I mean, I think that's becoming a little more common. I know a lot of people are like, really like, oh, if I'm going to a good meal, that's not what I want to hear. But it's not like, you know, there's a DJ in there, you know, cranking out tunes like Martiranos after 8:30 p.m. or whenever they get they basically turn into a club. So yeah, I know I've already said this 4 times, but definitely recommend izakaya to anyone who's looking for something at Borgata.
Cool. I will check it out next time I'm there. Sounds up my alley.
The other thing I kept thinking was like, well, I wonder how this would compare to Budokan, right? Because Budokan's
I know, we haven't done it yet. We have to do it. Well, at least I'm going to do it next time I'm in Atlantic City.
I almost feel like I want to do like izakaya for lunch and Budokan for dinner, which I've said I don't love Asian, but I would be interested to try the sort of like back-to-back.
We haven't done Budokan specifically because of you.
Oh, yeah.
The last couple times I feel like we've gone to Atlantic City because you don't like Asian food.
Such a hater. Yeah, always.
Let's be clear here. The reason that we haven't been to Budokan isn't because of me.
Right. No, I'm not. Yeah, that's definitely true. But I did have plans to go to Budokan, and we ended up at Continental with my wife last trip, but we don't need to talk about that. So the last place that we ate was Casa Taco and Tequila Bar at Tropicana. We went there for breakfast on Sunday. In typical Craig fashion, I did not feel good on Sunday morning. And not because of drinking, because I didn't drink that much, but I just even before dinner, I started feeling like my stomach wasn't in great shape. So this, I I haven't told you this, but
classic Craig.
I know. You're not surprised at all, are you? Like,
no. This I would actually be surprised if you're like, I felt great the whole time.
Right. Like, when is the last time I've traveled anywhere and have not felt like some sort of stomach issue?
Like horrible, like starting about 18 hours before you're supposed to leave.
Yeah, I think I just have like a stress about being in transition. But you all don't need to play my psychiatrist on this. So we went to Casa. My stomach wasn't feeling great, but I got a waffle with, I think it was strawberries and bananas and whipped cream. It was pretty good. I would say it was better than Toplitsky's, but not like amazing or anything. The portions were insanely huge. My wife got huevos rancheros, which were good for the 2 bites I had, but like I took a bite and I was like, that's really good. And then like 30 seconds later, my stomach was like, that is not good. Like, no more of that. So I stuck to my waffle. But I thought it was pretty good. And the portions were huge and the service was incredibly fast. I tweeted out that like we got there, they put us at a table and we hadn't even like taken our jackets and sat down. And the waiter ran over and was like, do you want coffee? And of course we did because, you know, we are big coffee drinkers, and so we didn't even have our jackets off yet, and there were full cups of coffee sitting there waiting for us. And the coffee is really good. Lavazza, good coffee. So if you are thinking like, oh, Casa, that's a taco place, I'm not going to go there for breakfast, no reason to have hesitations. It's a good breakfast, good big breakfast, especially if you were out drinking the night before. Certainly quite a few people there who looked like they had been out at one of Tropicana's many clubs the night before and were trying to, you know, soak up some of the previous night's libations.
All I have to say to you is I'm positive that somewhere Steve is sitting there smiling and he doesn't know why quite yet, but because he told us we had to go here, right?
Right. So I do have to thank Steve, and I emailed him just letting him know that I went. So he did suggest that before my last trip with my wife, he said, oh, you should go to Casa, because I was thinking of Toplitsky's, and he was like, no, go to Casa, because we were staying at Tropicana, and we ended up going to Toplitsky's instead. And I'm sure he's feeling a nice sense of I told you so, rightfully. Right. So Casa, definitely, I would not go out of your way to go to Toplitsky's if you're in Tropicana. Just go to Casa. Good classic breakfast dishes, much better service, better coffee. So that's it for food. Any questions about the food portion of the discussion?
No, the show must go on.
Yeah. So speaking of the show, the other thing we did was we went to the Human Nature show, as I mentioned at the top of this segment. So they have recently revamped their show. It used to be totally Motown. Now it's sort of this mix of a few of those Motown songs, some like what they call jukebox, which is 50s and 60s. I'm trying to think, like Runaround Sue, kind of that era, Frankie Valli era, but they didn't sing any Frankie Valli stuff. There was some holiday music mixed in just because it was the time that we went. You know, it was early December, so not surprising that they mixed in holiday music. And then they also threw in a little bit of recent pop music, like a couple songs. I don't think anything that's currently on the radio, but stuff that's within the last couple years. And if you don't know about Human Nature, they were actually a boy band in Australia. That's sort of how they got popular, at least, you know, in Australia. They've never really got popular in the United States, but they did play on that a little bit, and it was pretty funny the way they did that. I said this on Twitter, and I'll repeat it, but like if you see this show, you just can't leave with anything but sort of this like happy feeling about Human Nature. Like I don't understand how you would go to this show and not like the show. Any age group, whatever musical interest you have, like it's just the selection's so good. It's so fast paced. They show a lot of their personality. I mean, I know it's all sort of scripted, but they do a really good job of sort of making themselves very likable. So it's just a really fast-paced show. Like they jump from song to song to song. I think their renditions of a lot of songs are really good. They do a few a cappella versions of songs that I especially like. I told my wife their version of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is actually my favorite Christmas song of all time, like specifically their version. And they did sing that, so I was happy about that. So it was just a great show, and it was a little longer than their old show. So if you've gone to one of their shows at Phoenician when it was just a Motown show, I think the runtime on that was like an hour and 10 or an hour and 20 minutes. This was closer to an hour 40. So it's actually kind of long for a casino show, because usually they want to get you back to the tables. But I liked it, just everything they did, I thought, knocked it out of the park. We were actually in the very last row of the Music Box Theater at Borgata, but the seats were still totally fine. It's not that big a theater. And we were like dead center, which was good. So really no bad seat in the house, I think, at Music Box. So don't hesitate. I know there have been times when I've seen shows on sale, and the cheapest ticket for some group is like $65 or $45. And it's like, oh, I'm going to pay $45 for the last row. But if that comes up in the future, I wouldn't hesitate about that, because those are still totally fine seats. So are you rushing out? Are you clicking on Amazon right now to buy the Human Nature Christmas album? Because that's what you should be doing.
No, but I will. I mean, I have seen a show at Music Box. The last trip I was talking about that me and my wife went to, we saw Burlesque at Borgata, which is kind of. I mean, I think it's seasonal. I don't think it's year round, but whenever it's in season, it's on Thursday nights there, and it's something that we enjoyed. And I think Music Box in general, like Craig said, there's not really a bad seat in that place. So it's a cool place to see a show. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So some random little notes. We actually tried to play Shack Jack at Tropicana. We went up after we ate breakfast, and it was around 12:30 p.m. and they were still setting up. Like, the dealer was there shuffling, and he kind of like waved us off, and it was like, said something about like, I still have to shuffle, which, normally in blackjack it's like, yeah, I know, I'll just wait. Right? But he sort of he acted like it was more set up than that. Like, he didn't just say we have to shuffle. He had to said something about like the cameras or something. So nobody else was there. So we just left. So no Shack Jack this time. I did not gamble 1 cent at Borgata, so that probably won't surprise anybody. But we went for dinner and a show, and didn't end up sitting in any tables. I mean, my card didn't get swiped anywhere, so it does say my last trip was still November on the thing. But I did book my reservation and everything through my Borgata Awards, so I don't know.
That's probably fine.
Yeah, I'm assuming they don't care too much about that. But the one thing I did do is I taught my wife Pygo poker at Bally's. So we went, I think we started at like 2:30 in the morning on, I guess that would have been Sunday morning at that point, like after the show, I think even after we went and got dessert at the, whatever it's called, Cafe Roma at Caesars, which...
You had to get gelato? You just could not contain yourself?
No, we did not get gelato. We got some sort of like cinnamony waffle thing.
Is it because you had to share? Because I'm like, I can't imagine you being there and not getting gelato.
Oh, so it was not... So Cafe Roma is the one that's upstairs.
Oh.
Yeah, not Taza. No,
Mm-hmm.
not the lobby place. So it's this, like, their coffee shop. So the coffee shop was like 80% empty, but we still had to wait for like 15 minutes because there were maybe 3 waiters on staff. Yep. And then the waiter seemed annoyed that we just ordered something and shared. So not the greatest experience at the Cafe Roma, but I guess I'm not sure what I would have expected at 2 in the morning, or whatever it was at that point, 1 in the morning. So then we went back down to Bally's. My wife wanted to learn Pygo poker. I don't know why I would have expected the table limits to be really high, except that it was sort of like Saturday night, but it was really late at that point. And there was a lot of open $10 blackjack, and when we went to the Pai Gow tables, there was $15 Pai Gow poker. So that is something that I feel like I almost never see. So we sat down, I bought in for a couple $100 and gave them my card, and so I'm not sure how they rate that because I just sort of gave my wife half my stack. So I'm not sure. I'm sure Eric would know if I'm...
Well, it depends on how the pit boss did it. I mean, if you asked, they definitely would rate both seats on for you. If you didn't, they probably still did, but it's possible that if he just wasn't paying attention or something, only you were getting rated.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that they rated both just by how many tier credits I got at the end of
They should have.
Yeah, so we played for a little over an hour, won $60. I think I won like whatever, $80, and my wife lost 20 or something like that. But it was a good time. It was fun to play Pai Gow. My wife had a good time. It's, not a terribly intimidating game to learn, so it was good because, you can always like flip your cards over and ask the dealer. I made the mistake of, like, I was pointing out for her what to do, and a couple times I touched her cards, and they were like, no touching the cards, but, lesson for next time, whatever. No security person came down and, kicked my ass or anything, so I'll consider that a win. But it was a good time, and we left for the trip, I think, up $10, so I don't know how Bally's is going to recoup that loss. But the other big thing I have to say is I didn't earn a ton of tier credits. I think I earned 65 tier credits in the trip for a one-night trip, which is not particularly good. I've seen no change in my total rewards rates, so I at least did not crush my offers, which is good. I feel like typically on these trips I just ruin my future offers, good. Especially having booked a discounted room, but maybe they feel like, this sucker still paid $84 plus tax and resort fee.
I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think they just for a play.
Yeah. So that's it. Good trip.
What are your offers like right now?
Pretty much all weeknights free at all 3 hotels, and then a bunch of Fridays free and no Saturdays.
Looks like at Harrah's at least, everything is free for me except for right around New Year's and MLK weekend, but everything else is comp.
Nice. Yeah, so I get Christmas Eve everywhere, but shockingly, I'm not going to stay there Christmas Eve. So any last questions about the trip now that it's in the books?
How was it?
It was good.
Successful?
It was successful. I wish on my, very rare night where we were toddler free that I did not feel sick, but I powered through it and made the most of it, and we still stayed up until 4 a.m. So I think that's cool. That's successful. I paid the price the next morning, but it was a good trip, and I'm still eager to go again. So I feel like I've definitely left the last 2 Atlantic City trips, raring to go back, and I'm sad that I don't have anything on the calendar booked right now. Yeah. Makes me upset. So we should figure that out.
We'll have to go back in a couple months.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out.
We went last year in February, right?
Yes.
Have to work something out.
And I know you had talked about going with your wife, right? Is no movement on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but we'll see. I mean, childcare is the hardest thing to line up, so.
All right, if that's it, are we ready to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I think that's about it. So, thanks everyone for listening to the podcast. If you want to participate, join the Facebook group, which always has good conversation and always gets shout-outs every episode. It's facebook.com/group/do-for-a-win. I remember you did say something that had come up in the Facebook group earlier in the episode, but I don't remember it now. So that's very interesting for everyone, I'm sure. You can find all of our great content at doforawin.com. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. You could reach out to Craig on Twitter at doforawin, or send him questions via email to doforawin@gmail.com. Any last words before we sign off, Craig?
Just that I've been insanely slow in responding to the email lately, just because work has been kind of a mess with end of semester stuff, but I'll try to get better at that. So if you have emailed, or I think we're all caught up, but if you email and you don't hear from me for 5 or 6 days, it's just, I'm not ignoring you. You will get a response. I do respond to every email. It just may take a few days.
So someone has to do all the work around here. It's certainly not me. So whatever slow service that you're giving them is better than the non-existent service that I am.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So we might try to have one more episode before the end of the year, but we need to kind of work some stuff out, and we'll see what we can do. But hopefully we'll try to record the week after Christmas, perhaps, and get something out closer to New Year's. But we'll talk to you guys in a couple weeks, and we hope to have one more episode in 2016. So have a happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Our first episode of 2017, maybe we should steal from Vegas Stripping and just kind of do like a best of episode. I think that could be interesting. I think people would really like that.
Yeah. I mean, are we qualified to say best of?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what the prerequisites are.